There was also a strong quote here, I think, from Mike Norvell, at least to me, on a question regarding figuring it out before the season ends. So trying to find some positives, some improvements, some simple improvements before the end of the season to get yourself prepared for 2025. He says, I absolutely believe in it. I've lived it. I've been through it. I've seen the highs and the lows in the game of football and hell and the game of life, just to be honest with you. I know and believe in what can be done, how it can be done. I don't need a motivational speech or even an encouraging word. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I know what it needs to look like. I know how you need to work. I know how you need to apply these lessons that are learned. And I damn sure know that I can do that. And I know that I can put together a team and a group that absolutely can respond to that. And we have not done a good enough job of doing that. And I do believe in those players in there regarding the locker room, since this was a post game presser. So uh, when you watch the video, and you can go back and watch this presser if you want to, but this was pretty strong comments from him just in the way that he was speaking back to the media member that asked that question, and kind of gave you a little bit of a sense that Mike isn't just cutting out the noise and cutting out what he's hearing and everything. He's certainly hearing that. He understands the situation at which Florida State is at, but to understand, hey, you know, things got to change, and it's definitely leaning into already trying to get yourself prepared for 2025. But he's been through the climb before, and I'm just wondering, though, to me, is he eligible to do another climb after the season that he put himself through last year with getting that undefeated regular season record, getting, in quote, that college football playoff snub? Is he eligible to be able to do another 5-year climb? That's where I don't think so, and it shouldn't be that way. We'll talk later on after the season ends on what we should expect for this program to be at moving into 2025, and what a record you would like to see as a fan, what it should be. But this shouldn't, to me, be, hey, we get to do this again. We're going to do another climb here, and you get another 3 or 4 years to do that. That's where things get interesting to me on, is he evaluating that in itself? And I'm sure, Alfred and the rest of the admin too are having those conversations as well, as, hey, this isn't just like, hey, we're gonna do another one of these things again. You brought in your team. We've kept your staff here for this long. There's got to be already preparations for 2025, because there's no improvement on a week to week basis. This is all shot. It's time to get ready for this next season ahead.
Well, look, there's no time for another rebuild in Tallahassee. I mean, this has got to be a 1-2 year max sort of flip for FSU, especially with the amount of money that you've invested into that contract extension for Mike Norvell, the money that's been invested in the coaching staff, which now you're going to need even more money when it comes to firing some of these coaches who, a lot of them just received extensions after the 2023 season. So you've got some money that you're going to have to burn there. And then obviously the cost to hire other coaches to join Mike Norvell's staff. And, that number is TBD. But, I feel like personally, if Florida State, if they're not around at least that 8-win mark or so in 2025, I mean, that does start to call into the question of, potentially Mike Norvell's status in Tallahassee. I just don't think it's going to be acceptable, right now with where the direction this program is going, and the transfer portal and the early signing period just a couple weeks away from that. Florida State, they don't have a lot of momentum on those fronts. You're going to be replacing coaches during that time as well. The next 4 to 8 weeks. I mean, it's one of the most important times in Florida State's program history. I believe they've got to make some really big moves, some that are going to be tough to make, and others that they're going to have to make for the best interest of Florida State football.
And I think there needs to even be some changes outside of that. Like we were just talking about the climb, the entire message has to change. This isn't a climb anymore. This has to be a new message. Maybe it's getting to stay in the locker room. Who knows what's happening? But there has to be so many different changes within the way this football team operates, whether it's getting a new play caller, whether it's getting different recruiting coordinators. There's got to be so many different things that happen just to even get bowl eligible next season, because that's how far off this program has fallen in 10 months. And it's insane to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, this program, the one thing that this program cannot let itself get used to is that we've got to at least get to a bowl game. You know, that should never be the case. And I think Mike knows that. But the thing is that this hole has been dug so damn deep that, you know, we as people that cover this team, it's shocking in so many different regards. Like whenever you're trying to preview a game, which we're about to do here against Notre Dame, you know, you look at the stats for where Florida State's ranked in these team rankings, and it's like, I mean, you're below UMass. You're below UMass. You're down there with some really, really, really shitty teams, like the shittiest of shit. And like that's where Florida State, the name of Florida State, is at, and that just should never, ever, ever be the case. But I just don't really know. We do know, and we'll have conversations about this once the season has ended and look into a lot of different things. But the factor of where this team has gone to, I was saying it to VZ and Instant Reaction, it is extremely impressive of how awful this team was able to turn into after what you saw the previous year. It's actually extremely impressive how this has been able to go down under Mike Norvell. But that's also the scariest thing. That's by far the scariest thing that makes you nervous as a fan going into 2025. And if that just continues, like even if he were, okay, let's say 2025, you start to see, here we go, a climb back and you reach that 9 win plus mark. Who knows if this could happen again? You know, that's what, and at the end of the day, you can bring in these assistants, you can bring in these coaching staff guys, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it's the guy at the top of the helm. And those guys that you had on your staff last year, they brought in those 13 wins. And I need to also, too, put in a lot of those players like Jordan Travis and Jared Verse, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, list goes on, Giant Jones, Renardo Green. Like a lot of those guys helped enormously put that undefeated regular season record together. But that's the scary part. You know, you just don't know if that could happen again under Mike Norvell.
Yeah, it's like, is it a 1-year fluke? Like, did everything just go wrong for Florida State this year? Or did they kind of set themselves up for this through the, struggles in high school recruiting, not landing a ton of proven transfers this past cycle in December, and then also losing some quality guys in their own program to the transfer portal as well. But like you said, Logan, I think the scariest part of it is you didn't make a single change on your on-field coaching staff. You had some guys, some off-field guys in the building, a couple GAs and things like that go to other places. But that shouldn't affect the total operation, that we've seen this year. From the top down, I don't know that there's one position group that has improved, from last year and even throughout the season. It's hard to point at different things and say, well, this has gotten better and, this is showing you some positive signs, so maybe that's something you can build off of. There's just not a whole lot of that. And it's definitely a reflection on Florida State's coaching staff. And that's why, major changes are going to be made in Tallahassee this offseason. They've got to be. I think Florida State, they've got to at least, I think 4+. And that's kind of putting it generous at this point because you've given some guys on that staff probably longer leashes than you needed to. And, Florida State, you had a chance last year maybe to upgrade when you had momentum around the country coming off a 13-1 season and a 10-win season before that. And you chose not to do that. Now, when you're in a really tough pickle, I'm just wondering when they make these changes, what are the coaching prospects out there to replace these guys who are going to be headed out of Tallahassee? So it's a twofold kind of question.